Hope everyone's warm and safe. Both coasts looks like are having some crazy weather. We'll get into that in a minute. I have a co-host joining me tonight, my friend Annette Marie Munnich. Welcome, Annette.
Hi, Linda. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Anytime. Hey, we do great together on radio. We have good energy, and you and I have a lot of interesting things we talk about. And I wanted to bring up, I keep talking about this Mercury retrograde, and like disasters happen when Mercury's retrograde because it rules communication and transportation. And unfortunately, we've had some disasters in the last few days with the New York City train accident and the Taiwan air crash. Someone asked me, Annette, yesterday, well, why do good things happen? Why do bad things happen in a good moon? And because they were explaining someone was in an accident a week ago before the moon went waning, and I said because it's Mercury retrograde, accidents are more common. I always tell people never to travel during this phase. And here we see all these lives taken. It just proves to me once again, for those of you who do think I'm crazy, that the stars are in control of this universe in many, many ways. So I want everyone out there to stay safe. And this will all be over probably by February 11th as energy leaves. But I want to wish Aquarius a happy birthday because tonight it's all about Aquarius. And my gal pal here is a fellow Aquarian.
Yeah.
Well, I always say this. If there were more Aquariuses in the world, there would be more world peace.
I do believe that. I mean, I really, I think that it's more of a sign that is accepting of other people and a little bit compassionate towards people who are being targeted and oppressed. And, I think that it would be really nice if people expanded themselves a little bit and just accept other people a little bit. And you know what? Everyone has their voice, and they all have their way of seeing the world.
Absolutely.
And, you can be wrong, but if people are talking and, just to respect that other person and their point of view, I think that would be a lovely thing, really. I think that maybe out of those zodiac signs, we might be less likely to condemn.
Well, Aquarians are the humanitarians of the zodiac. I mean, you guys rule the 11th house, which rules friends and wishes. How do I say it? Aquarius, I'm just going to jump right in here because I had some great stuff to say about Aquarius, and I'm just going to jump right in and say that Aquarians they have the opportunity to master the secrets of the universal mind, and you have the ability to pass it on to the rest of the world. Aquarians are new age thinkers. They're advanced souls, most of them. I've met a few asshats in my day.
Well, I married an Aquarian, my first husband. And so that reminded me of that. But, I'm sorry I feel really hurt, but I want to tell you how that turned out a little bit.
Okay.
We kind of evolved into, we lived together and we were friends, and we each had our own friends. We were each doing our own thing. And just kind of grew apart that way. But, it wasn't a really horrible kind of thing.
Right.
There were a couple of horrible things, but it just went that way, So that was interesting. But
it's
I
difficult
think that
to marry someone that's of the same sign. It's very difficult to marry that because you're so compatible that it kind of gets boring.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we need, that opposites attract, And we're going to talk about that a little later in the show, sexuality and attraction, and we're going to incorporate that all into the stars since it is almost Valentine's Day, and then next week I have an angel intuitive on, so I can't discuss it then. We're going to have fun tonight, so.
Awesome. And, I wanted to say something about Mercury retrograde. It seems like it lasts so long. It's like, oh, my God.
I know. Well, it does last 4 weeks, usually.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it seems like 8.
I know. No, I know.
By the time it's over with. And then everyone blames everything on Mercury retrograde. That's why computers get up, because, that's why your dryer doesn't work. And that's why nobody's responding to your emails, and why people don't understand what you're saying. And you were talking about accidents and things like that.
Accidents, communication. On a personal note, I was born when Mercury was retrograde, and what that means is, I know, that's why I always crack that joke to Denny. I'm a walking Mercury retrograde. I do mean that literally, okay? I've noticed especially Geminis. I've noticed because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. I noticed that a lot of Geminis, and I'm watching it on Facebook, and I'm seeing it in my inner circle, they're getting themselves in a lot of hot water with their mouth, and that happens when Mercury goes retrograde. Gemini can't help themselves, and because my hidden dragon is in Gemini, I'm kind of controlled by these stars as well, in some ways, and I've gotten into some issues with a few people. Last week I thought the whole world was mad at me, and I sat there, I just need to shut my damn mouth.
Well, I'm never mad at you.
I know you're not, and that's why we are simpatico. But I've just noticed people have been a little more argumentative. Have you noticed this?
Yes. And I feel like everything's been difficult,
Yes.
And, well, it's been a little difficult.
Everything seems a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Well, let me go over, I wanted to talk about your signs forecast, and I did want to explain to, a lot of you that are listening that are January Aquariuses, I mean, this forecast will pertain to you somewhat, but because I focus on the housing system, you probably want to go back and replay my January forecast, because January Aquariuses, since I call you the cuspy babies, you take on two energies. You take on Capricorn and Aquarius. So if you're a Pisces tonight, born in February, this forecast that I'm getting ready to read is going to pertain to you guys as well. Okay? You ready, Annette?
I am. If I give you $1, will you make it better?
I'll try. I'll really try. All right. Well, we're getting ready to explore the chart of those born in February, and Aquarius rules the planet of Uranus. And like I said earlier, souls born in February you guys are given the opportunity to master the secrets of the universal mind. You guys are an air sign, and just like, the wind or the breeze, you must travel the world, and you cannot hold down an Aquarian. Aquarians do not like to be told you can't do this and you can't do that and where you go. Am I correct in this and that, or am I way off?
That is the worst, somebody that tells you how to think. That's the absolute worst.
You could tell me to do something, but don't tell me how to think. Exactly. It's the worst thing you can do to anyone, but especially an Aquarius. But you guys are the water bearers of the zodiac. Your animal is all types of birds, anything that takes flight. So any kind of bird. When I think of Aquarius for a spirit guide or a totem, I always think of the hawk, because it just, for me, I identify Aquarius with that creature. Your country is ruled by Japan, and doesn't that make sense? Aquarian rules earthquakes and sudden release of energy, explosions, and Japan is one of the most seismically active places in the world, so it makes sense that they're ruled by this sign. Your minerals, uranium, And your body parts, you guys rule the circulatory system, the shins and ankles, and there is one part of the brain that Aquarians rule, and that is the intuitive part of the mind. Aquarians are highly intuitive, and I know you are, Annette.
Thank you.
Yes, you've given me some sound advice. Like I said, we need more Aquarians on this planet.
When you're the one doing it, then you think that these things are things that everybody can sense and do, and you don't think that it's strange or different.
Right. It makes sense.
And
Okay.
I think that the bird was interesting because when you said the bird thing, the first thing that I thought of is like being up on a branch and trying to look down at the whole picture.
Yep, you guys want the full view of everything, a bird's eye view of everything. Makes sense. Well, you guys have got some interesting stuff going on, and I'm a little envious, and I think all of us other signs out there should be a little envious right now of Aquarius, because what's getting ready to happen for Aquarius isn't going to happen for any of us. So, just to let you know. I always talk about the planet Jupiter. This is the Lord of Luck, and he's cruising through Aquarius' 7th house right now, which rules partnerships, contracts, and marriage. A lot of Aquarians are tying the knot, or have already tied the knot, since this energy was in place as of August of 2014. It moved into the 7th house. And now this energy stays with you guys until August 11th. So you'll have luck in all these areas where there's contracts, whether there's a business endeavor, partnerships, and in marriage. Now this energy does move, and this planet shifts right into Aquarius' 8th house, which is ruled by Virgo, on August 11th of 2015. Now, with that being said, this rules corporate endeavors. This also rules other people's resources, helping Aquarius to achieve success. This rules intimacy, sex, life, death, and February souls will have a lot of luck and have friends there to help them to achieve any endeavors. This is also going to be a heightened time. Your libido is going to be a little more active, and there's a little more sexual activity for Aquarius coming. Have I made everybody blush? I just made somebody's... I'm not an Aquarius. However, this planet is moving through my 8th house right now, so I told my Capricorns, their libido's up too until August 11th. Not that they won't have a libido after that. I'm just saying interesting things are happening for Capricorn. Aquarius, also, I talk about the dragon head and tail. Right now, that dragon's head, or as modern astrologers like to call it, the North Node of Fate. This is cruising through your 9th house, which is travel, law, publishing, higher knowledge, and foreign connections is going to be possible in the late summer. And then this energy is actually going to shift on August 19th of 2015, or as I call it, changing of the guards. And it is going to move right into Virgo-Pisces axis. So not only does Aquarius get to have Jupiter moving through their 8th house, you get to have the dragon's head as well. And this is nice. I mean, you guys have almost a whole year. Like I say, follow the moon, and you can't lose Aquarius. Simply put.
And
go ahead.
Remember when you did my chart?
I did, yes. Yes.
That's like many planets all in a clump.
You have a very unique chart than others, and without me elaborating a whole lot on your chart, because that's personal, you have something that a lot of people don't have. I have one. You have one. You have a big one, though. It's a stellium, and a stellium. When I talk about a stellium, it's a cluster of 3 or more planets in one house, and yours are all right on your first house, which makes it's going to make you, especially in all those signs in Aquarius, with this energy coming, sky's the limit. I always tell you about the moon, so you play your cards right, use the right phase of the moon, and you guys will see success.
I just love this, and there's so much going on right now, so much exciting stuff happening, so many great projects going, and have been working very hard for a number of years, and it just seems like things have gotten to where there's a lot in very good, solid position, and it's all really very exciting. So I'm very happy to hear that. Really happy to hear that.
It's going to be a good year, not just for Aquarius, but, I always tell people, whenever you have Jupiter cruising through your house, this is the Lord of Luck, and he will always give you lucky breaks. I mean, I'm going to use an example here. I have Jupiter cruising through my 8th house, and I have had so many opportunities through corporate endeavors, through other people's resources to make things happen. It's really helped. I can tell. And so the next movement goes to Aquarius and their 8th house. And I hope, and they're just as lucky as I was. And I think they will be, because you've got that extra energy from the North Node, or Dragon's Head, as I call it, moving through there. Should be a good year. You'll have to keep me posted.
I always keep you posted.
I know.
And it's interesting about the relationships and all of that, and I've been kind of open in that regard and just sort of like seeing what might happen. So that's been a little bit interesting too. So I don't know. We'll see. I still have several months. I don't know. See, here's the thing with me. Like, I am so involved in so much stuff and really cool stuff. And I'm all about that right now. So it's difficult for me sometimes. I'll meet someone and I'll think that they might not be able to handle all this or understand all this, because I'm really, I'm so caught up in so much that
after the research and the studying I've done on that particular sign, they don't jump into relationships lightly. In fact, I know for an Aquarian, they have to like you and love you for your mind and your soul first. The sexuality is secondary in a great many ways. Am I way off base here? Or?
No, that's exactly true. I think that with me, I first have to kind of love a man for his heart and his mind.
Right.
I can see that someone is sexy and that's attractive and that's wonderful, but I'm really not likely to just fall into bed with them and walk away the next day and fall into bed with somebody else and walk away from that. So I think that I'm really attracted to somebody's creative energy. I love creative people. But what I attract out in the world is a lot of times a totally different story. I attract some people that I would never, ever think of as a viable life partner.
Right.
I'm not sure why that is.
Well, technically the norm is Aquarius will attract, obviously your polar opposite, which is Leo or August-born souls, because you guys are polar opposites. But Aquarius also attracts, June. Gemini is another sign that Aquarius attracts because it's a fellow Earth sign and it falls into your 5th house of love and romance. I don't know if you've had any relationships with any Geminis.
Well, I have, but it's funny.
Libra's another one.
Okay, yeah, Libra, that's a whole other story, girl.
Libra's you see, so technically Aquarian is very compatible with Libra, Leo, Gemini, any of the air signs, and the fire signs too, because fire and air attract each other. So Leos, Sagittarians, Aries sometimes. But we were talking the other day about this, the whole love, sex, passion, and I was telling you about, I had trained under Dr. Turi, and in the past, after I graduated from his course, his school, he never really elaborated a whole much about love relationships, except what the software provided. And in the past 2 years, I have probably put in 1,500 hours of study on just relationships alone, and studying certain things and stuff like that. And I have come to a discovery about something, and I've incorporated the method of astrology that I practice along with synastry, or synastry, as some people call it. And so why doesn't Aquarius? Why isn't Aquarius attracted to a Taurus? And those are two not non-compatible signs. You know what I mean? Or, a Leo and a Capricorn. Those are two non-compatible signs.
I love earth signs, and a lot of the people that I deal with are earth signs, and I've had good relationships with other earth sign people. But I think it's because I have a Taurus moon. But a lot of earth sign people, and they're the people I like to hang out with a lot too. And I like the air sign people. I want to tell you about the Gemini.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Well, I have two daughters. They're Gemini, and my father was a Gemini.
Okay.
So I have a PhD in Gemini. But
I need to talk to you.
I had two great Gemini guys, but we never had, nothing ever really happened. It was so, suddenly this thing about, telling me that just sort of, I love you, I think about you all the time, I want to be, it was such a shock. And
this was a Gemini?
Yeah, twice this happened.
Yeah, it usually happens twice, because a Gemini is the double.
No, it's two different Geminis.
Oh, God, there you go. Oh, my God.
I was taken aback by that, and felt like, in a way, I felt like this big, confession thing just poured out at my feet, and I felt I'm a star. Like I felt like I had to choose something or commit something, and I held back because I was just startled. But I really liked them. I think if they would have just gone a little slower and, just take the time and not the big jumpy thing. But
Geminis move quick. They're quick. They're Mercury. They move quick. I haven't met too many Geminis. I don't know too. There's one I've met lately, but other than that, I don't know. I've never really come across any Geminis. They're interesting. I'm still trying to figure out Geminis. But there's some
Libra, because there is a man that I miss. We just lost touch with each other over the years. He was so wonderful. He was so great. Yeah.
Libra.
Yeah. And we just had great energy together. We had great sex together. Everything was very devoted and yet stayed light in its own way at the same time. I liked that a lot. But I lost touch with him. I said, I don't know. If he was single, I would love to see him again. He was wonderful. He just was a very, very great person.
Well, Libras are good souls. You're talking about Libra, right?
Yeah. He was a little Irish, and he was a painter.
Aww.
Chicago. And he was just fun. He had the twinkle in his eye. He was cute. He was everything. I just love him again. Someday I'll tell you what happened to that because it was from my ex. And then he came back. And then he was saying me, Tim, and he went to, I said Tim. He went to Tim and he was like, I just want one more chance with her. And I want to try and put my life back together with her. And Tim voluntarily backed down so that my ex would have a chance to make life with me again.
Wow, really?
My ex was Scorpio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was 20 years of fun right there.
Well, interesting. Well, that Scorpio is a whole other animal.
He was very, very domineering, and I don't like to fight. I don't like to fight a lot. I like the house to be the sanctuary. I don't like to fight a lot, so I would
harmony.
Yeah, I'd try to acquiesce, and I would try to keep him happy, and just try. And then I think in a lot of ways I didn't put my foot down enough, and then I felt like I was using my respect, and I was losing my say and my voice and my personhood. And then, when we would fight, it would be pretty bad because I wouldn't say anything until I was so, felt pushed up against the wall,
It's not healthy.
No, that was good.
Well, just because there's compatibility within the zodiac doesn't necessarily, it's all about the numbers. I'm figuring this out. I've studied hundreds and hundreds of charts of couples in the last year, and I used to think that you've seen the love charts that I do, and if any of you out there are interested, I run a $50 Valentine's special. If you want to really know your lover intimately, psychologically, and mentally, get a love reading done at www.officestarradio.com. It will blow your mind. I used to think that the higher the numbers, the more compatible people were. However, since I have taken up studying synastry, I have discovered some very interesting things about relationship and love and how people really tick. When you do a chart on someone and you combine it and the numbers are like up in the 10s, 10 point something, 9 point something, the highest one I've seen on someone is a 14.33. That's the highest I've ever seen on two people. This means that these people are karmic. They have walked a past life together before. It's karma. The fate has brought them back together in this lifetime. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the most compatible for each other. So then I started looking at charts of other couples who have lower numbers, like, for example, 0.85. Okay? Well, that means that there's a lot of unharmoniousness within the chart, but opposites attract. And after discovering the synastry of things, I've discovered that, for example, anytime someone's moon sextiles the love planet Venus, anywhere in someone's love chart, there will be deep affection and devotion towards one another. In fact, this, for example, and this is a big one. When I see this red alerts me that this is a relationship that will go the distance, and it's usually when a moon conjuncts their partner's north node. There's deep affection in this relationship, and neither one of you'll ever forget each other. There's an impact there. It's meaningful, and it's on an incredibly deep level. It's almost beyond sexuality. Even though it's very sexual, it is beyond sexuality. anytime you see a placement like this with someone, a couple, the moon person expresses these qualities that the person who possesses the north node need to achieve success in their subconscious level. This attraction is intense, and the relationship itself will be there'll be an emotional connection, and to the point where you can almost feel the other one's sorrow and pain and emotions even being thousands of miles away. That is intense. There's this instant bond between two people with this placement, and usually that relationship, it feels like they were meant to be. That's not the only one, but let me just get through this, and I'll let you talk, Annette. There's several different placements. If anybody has had their love chart done before, and you want to look through their chart again, anytime you have a sun that conjuncts the north node or opposes it or is in opposition, it makes for incredible relationship. Anytime the moon conjuncts or opposes the north node, incredible. Even an ascendant, which is your rising sign, is conjuncting your north node. These show incredible compatibility. I'm sure you've seen my numbers thing that I do on the side when I do the love chart. What do you think of all that?
When it gets into all the aspects, it's very interesting. And then if you get a chart from Linda, which you should, because I highly recommend her. Her charts are really amazing. The aspects will have numbers assigned to them, and also will be, well, I'll just say plus and minus, how favorable this is and how unfavorable this is. And I think that it's really interesting. At the bottom, everything is sort of added up, and then we have this number. And it seems to me to really hit on a lot of really important points. And once you know that, you kind of see it. You see it that it's there, things maybe that you might not have really thought about too much before that point. I find it really interesting. I've been really... You're just a fascinating person since I met you last summer.
Oh, well, thanks. So are you.
I enjoyed our relationship so much, talking to you, and a lot of the things that, you have talked about. And just really got interested in you and what you do. And, of course, we're both Italian, so we got to stick together,
Well, that's right. Us Italians, we're fickle and we stick by each other. No, but this method of astrology, when I do the numbers, my software doesn't provide that. The software that I have for the divine astrology, for the Nostradamus method, it provides numbers on the side, but it doesn't provide those numbers that I use, the weights, as I call them. And I actually learned about all of this through another astrologer who was a modern astrologer at that, who was telling me about this. And I started researching it about 2 years ago, and I'm going, Linda, you're onto something here. You're definitely onto something, combining the type of astrology that I practice with the love part of it in synastry is just incredible. And the things you find out about someone and the intricacy of someone's relationship. I mean, there's some relationships that I've looked at some people's charts and it's like, wow, you two cannot be in the same room together for more than 5 minutes without your clothes being ripped off of each other. I mean, there's that kind of energy too.
Well, that's interesting, but then this is what I think too. Like, you cannot predict a spark between two people. And a lot of things can look good on paper. And now I'm thinking about people that do internet dating. And, for example, and you fill out all of these things and whatnot, which I don't really believe in, because that person might be really compatible, or they might just end up being your friend because there's no spark there, so it's hard to calculate the spark.
Like eHarmony? eHarmony.
It's impossible to calculate a spark. And sometimes somebody sparks you because they're different. Sometimes somebody sparks you because, in a lot of ways, they're the same. But I noticed in my relationships, part of my thing is that I wait for someone to approach me, and the people that approach me are usually pretty assertive, and I can be really, I can be drawn to that assertive personality, even aggressive, a little intense, a little passionate. I can really get into that. I don't like that a lot until the other things that come with that turn into being dominated. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of that is because I don't go out there and say, hey, Friday, why don't we have a drink? I'm not that person. I'm not going to do that. I'm not the second way.
Aquarians never wear their heart on their sleeve.
Right.
That is for sure. That is a gimme.
Right.
But go ahead, Annette.
I was just agreeing with you. I think that's true.
It's true. They never wear their heart on their sleeve. Wow, we've got a lot of action in the chat room right now. This is what I get for jumping around. Wow. Look at that. Oh, picture. We missed Picture the Voice.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Savvy.
That's right. We have the lovely Savvy Schmidt with us this evening in the chat room. Hey, girl. She's an Aquarian. Yes, she is.
I hope she got here in time for all the good news.
I hope so, too. But, she knows my number. She knows she can always ask me in private, and I'll go over it with her. But here's some interest.
The January Aquarian. But
well, January Aquarians do take on Capricorn energy. So when planets are moving from one house to another, they're affecting January Aquarians just as much as they're affecting Capricorns. It's just like the planets that are moving through February's, the Aquarian house, February. Pisces born in February are going to feel this energy, because you guys have to remember, for example, a Pisces born, say, the end of February, February 27th. Yes, you are born in the sun sign of Pisces, but you're born in the constellation of Aquarius. The stars don't lie. You own that constellation because you're born in the month of February. I have a child who's born on a cusp, and she's born in the sun sign of Aries, and she's an Aries at times, but she owns the constellation of Pisces, March. So it's really amazing. Now, some guy named Deadeye is saying, are cusp people as weird as they have the rep for being? No. In fact, quite the contrary. Do you agree with that?
First of all, I love people, and I attract a lot of cusp people, and that is my ex-boyfriend right there.
I kind of figured that, because he was saying how wonderful Aries, or how wonderful August Virgo cusp people are.
Yeah.
But, cusp babies have an advantage over others in the chart, in the signs, and that is because, how do I say this? You guys have a little more variety. So if someone is an Aquarius born in January, let's use that as an example. Someone's a cusp born in January, well, you take on the energy of Aquarius and Capricorn, so a January Aquarius can actually attract a Taurus, a Virgo, but also, because it's Aquarian, it can also attract a Gemini, polar opposites, you know. You guys have a little more variety than most. That's all I'm trying to say here. You lucky sons of guns. I won't say the B word, but it's true. You guys have a little more variety. Anyway, there is some danger zones. Uh-oh. Who do we have on with us? Is it who I think?
It may be.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this just might be the paranormal rebel himself.
Ooh, we have a winner. What's that?
Not much. Welcome to the show.
Excellent.
We are just talking, well, sex and love and relationships and compatibility, and, you know, it's close to that special day, Valentine's Day. So Annette and I are having a discussion about it.
Okay, what kind of discussion?
Okay. What's your so let's get a male perspective here. What's your take on all this?
On Valentine's Day?
Well, Valentine's Day, I know all about the Valentine. It's actually a ripoff.
It is. It's just another day where a dude goes in the doghouse for another week. Oh.
Well, Annette and I were talking about relationships and how do certain signs are compatible with others, and why is it that opposites attract, and so, you know, let's get a male perspective here. What do you think, Annette? Male perspective?
Male perspective.
Okay.
Well, that could get me in trouble.
That's okay. We'll just have Denny change it to explicit. We'll turn my radio show explicit tonight.
I can really offend some listeners.
Go
right,
for
so
it,
what kind of question do you want first?
Annette, why don't you start?
Oh, well, I thought the question was about compatibility.
Compatibility, attraction. Well, yeah.
You're attracted to your opposite, or you're attracted to people like you, and why is that? And
well, let me say this. Don't you find it boring when there's somebody exactly like you? And I mean, I do. That's just me. There needs to be, I don't know.
The truth is, I think there needs to be a degree in opposite. Only for a couple of reasons. It keeps things more interesting, it keeps things more vibrant. If everybody's identical, they're just going to spend every waking hour together. And let's just face it, after a year of doing all this, you're working out of my gigs, can you get a fucking hobby? You know, it's just the same after a while. So having that little bit of difference allows each other to kind of get apart for a few hours so they can explore their own personal hobbies, and then they come home and everything's hunky-dory and have something to talk about on top of it. Now, so that's the benefit of having some opposites, but I think there needs to be a degree of, same kind of, influences and so forth and so on within each other. Because, well, let's just face it, you need something to talk about when you do talk about something.
Oh, that is true. And, I actually hear this from, my other radio show on Saturday nights. I hear people say, God, my husband or my wife, it's usually my wife, because most people that listen to my type of music are male. But I sure wish she would listen to the same kind of music as me. I can never go out to a concert with her. I can't do this or I can't do that, So I get that whole, there's got to be some sort of compatibility, because, I sure as hell couldn't be with a person who wanted to drag me to a country western show. I just don't do that.
And they come home and they talk about it, even though you don't care about it. You like hearing their stories.
That is true.
It's great. And that's cool, and that gives you that conversational piece.
That is true, too. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
It's pretty cool. But in the same token, we're talking about the typical, I hope we're talking about the typical basic male-female standards of relationship, even though I'm sure the gay community as well goes through this. I don't want to kind of be discriminating, but they're just two different people in general anyway. Guys sit around and enjoy the smell of their own farts for 5 days. You don't get that with females, So, I mean, it's too different in general. You know what I mean?
Jason, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's true. They used to lift their arms, smell the pig, scratch the balls.
It's true. I had my girlfriend came up to me not that long ago, a while ago, and wanted me to smell a particular perfume. I'm like, dude, I like my own farts. You really want my opinion on that? That's not cool.
You know what? To each his own, you know. Annette, are you still with me?
I am. I'm thinking. It's all. Oh. It's interesting. And sometimes I think that you're attracted to someone, and then on a higher level, there's something that you can learn there. And yeah.
Well, even the producers of DTM, Denny and Tiff, they're actually really different people. In all honesty, completely different, but together, I mean, you can really sense the closeness between them, even though they're different. It's quite adorable, actually.
Well, you know, I've used their chart as an example before on air with their permission, and I always say, you know, sometimes you find that soulmate. I do believe there is a such thing as a soulmate, but you know what? You don't just have one. You have many soulmates throughout this planet. You know, and they can either fall into the form of a lover, a child, a parent. You know, for me, you know, that was my grandfather. My grandfather and I were like thick as thieves, and I really do believe he was like one of my soulmates. You know, he understood me more than any of my other elders understood me. He understood me. But yeah, Denny and Tiff, they're exquisite. That's a chart that
they are an adorable couple.
Absolutely,
they love each other to death. I couldn't see them with any other else but them. But if you get to know them individually, they're completely different people. It's so strange, but they are, you know, a great couple, and it's impressive.
They are.
If you want a sign, and this is where I want to piss these people off, but if you want telltale signs of whether or not if a relationship is going to work in the beginning, this is the first sign right here. If you're starting to make too many sacrifices, it ain't worth it. It's not worth it. You're going to be doing that, but making sacrifices your whole life. I always said, if a relationship is taking way too much work, it ain't worth it. It's not, and I know a lot of people get pissed off like that and say, well, a relationship shouldn't work. No, it shouldn't. It's rather compatible or you're not.
It should run. It wasn't that.
I very much agree with that. I think that
I do too.
Some people, it always feels like trying.
Yeah.
If you have to try that hard,
trying too hard. I mean, yeah. There's no reason to try hard. If you can't bring a smile to that person just by being you, end it. Don't even continue on it. End it, because you're just going to be doing that the rest of your life, and it's not fair for either party.
Right. When one party's doing more of the sacrificing than the other, then there's no balance of harmony, and then there's resentment, and it has to run like a fine-oiled machine.
I will say this: out of 100% comedy efforts, I am the person giving advice who is often divorced. So.
Well, we're all in that category in this end here. Okay, really. So,
but these are things that you learn along the way,
and you learn from your mistakes.
You do.
Yeah.
You do, and I think another thing that people have to remember is, I think a lot of women do this. They marry the potential in someone and think that they're going to turn into something better instead of just marrying the person that they're with. They marry who they might be one day and then try and make that person conform, and that's unfair. That's not a fair thing.
You can't change a person. You cannot change a human being's characteristics or the way, you know, not even the way they think. I mean, you can have intellectual debates with them, maybe be a little more enlightening towards them, and vice versa. But if you go into it saying, I'm going to, you know, marry this person or get involved with this person because I think I can change them, well, doomed to fail right there.
I think people evolve. And I think that when you become a couple, you evolve a little bit together because you do change the other one a little bit. And I've seen people, I want to each other to death, but you can tell that both of them together are bad.
The both of them together are what?
Bad.
Okay.
Like, nothing positive comes out of this. And yet they love each other tremendously. But the one personality seems squashed. The other personality is taking over. They seem okay with it, but it's not making them bloom as people, if you know what I mean.
They're not progressing forward in their relationship. It's stagnant and it's stale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Well, I think a lot of the problems, and a lot of people, again, won't admit this, but it's 100% true. A lot of people tend to go after looks, and I know a lot of people say, "Hey, Joe, that's not me." Bullshit, it is you. Nobody goes into a bar, nobody goes online, nobody goes into a goddamn library and says, that person looks like they have a nice personality. They don't do that. They look at it and say, oh, man, that's pretty cute. That's a pretty cute looking person. And then they go for it. And that's a lot of the problem that people are going in for. And, that's where a lot of the failed relationships end up happening, because they don't know the person. You just see them and say, oh, well, that's how I'm going to jump in the back with that. And, 3 weeks later, they're throwing fists at one another.
What the hell are they thinking? Yeah, it's superficial. It's the whole nice on the outside but ugly on the inside. You don't get the whole package. It's just like when women and men age as they get older. You can always tell the beautiful older souls from the not so beautiful, because as we age, your heart stays the same. If you're beautiful on the inside, that's going to exude to the outside. I don't care who the hell you look like.
Well, they would say that stress levels wind up aging someone a lot quicker, and that could play a lot of factor in why some of those more wicked type of souls, I guess you can say, wind up looking like shit when they get older.
And
that's true.
There's actually a saying that by the time you're 50, you have the face you deserve, which, refers to like really sour people end up getting this scowl line embedded in their face. When people are really up in the years, you can tell by looking at them who has a light and loving outlook and who has a negative outlook, because it does start to make the marks in the face.
That's true. That's very true. So no frowning. It gives you wrinkles, ladies. We want you to smile.
Well, don't smile too much, because then I'll look at you like, nah, come, please. Don't smile too much.
Well, they feel like they're having a lot of fun in the chat room. They're all speaking Spanish right now, so habla español poquito, no mucho. You too. I typed in cerveza, and I don't even think I spelled it right. The only other Spanish I know, I really can't repeat live on air. My neighbor taught it to me.
I know a lot of the guidelines in Spanish. Actually,
I do too.
Spanish. I work in a lot of factories.
So you know about a Spanish. Oh, okay. I work in a kitchen with all Mexicans, so I know quite a bit of Spanish myself. I work good.
With a lot of Spanish, and I know all the bad words. And I thought the one guy's name was a bad word because I didn't know that bad word yet, and that's what they always called him, so I put it on the paycheck.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys had this little debate with me about relationships and stuff. I find it kind of interesting, how people react to each other. Maybe it's because I do all these crazy charts and stuff, and I just kind of find it interesting. How I should do my grandparents one of these days, because my grandparents used to fight like cats and dogs. I mean, well, my grandmother was Aquarius and my grandfather was a Libra. So there was compatibility, and they were married 65 years before my grandfather died, but they fought like cats and dogs over certain things, like religion. My grandmother was very religious, and my grandfather would scream at her every Saturday night about giving the priest all of his money at church. But for 65 years of marriage, you know, they had to have been doing something right.
I'm not sure. They might have had maybe your granddaughter was packing real well.
Maybe your granddaughter was what?
Maybe your grandfather was packing.
Maybe. Well, my grandfather was deaf, so maybe that had something to do with it. He couldn't hear her yell. My grandfather lost his hearing.
It like they're always fighting. And so he couldn't hear, and she kept yelling at him, and he kept yelling because he's just trying to hear himself talk.
I know, it's true.
Maybe.
Hey, when we were kids, we used to take bets, like me and my cousins. We'd say, okay, do you think the fight's going to start before Starsky and Hutch? I'm really going back in time on my age here. Or after Beretta. What do you think? You know, we'd all place our bets a quarter or two, and sure enough, he'd start in right at 8 o'clock sharp every Saturday. But I appreciate you guys joining me. It was fun to talk about this. I hope I helped the fellow Aquarians out there. I'm only an email away if you guys have any other questions. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up here tonight?
I think that's all my basis.
Thank you for having me on, Linda. I enjoyed it. It was a lot.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining me. And Jason, thank you for calling in and joining us. I always love a man's perspective on this matter, you know. Not too many of them chime in. So I appreciate you chiming in and giving us the 411 on things.
I try. But my perspective is a lot different than most. So.
Well, you're a unique soul. Yes.
I'm unique, all right. I wrote the small book when I went to school.
You did what?
I wrote the small book when I went to school. I had a helmet, yes.
Well, that's awesome. Too funny. Hey, thanks for joining me, you guys. And all of you out there have an awesome weekend. Some of you get a 3-day weekend. Not me, but hopefully some of you get to enjoy it. Relax, enjoy, stay safe, stay warm. We'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody. Thank you.